Howdy folks, and welcome to my review of the Sony IER-M7, which stands for in-ear reference. So that's the kind of tuning Sony have gone for. And yet it's been a long time since I've done a Sony product. I think the last one was either 750 or the 755, the MH model. And yes, this is an all BA model as well. I think it's 4 balanced armatures per side. And there is an M9 model, which is above this one, which is more expensive. And yeah, as usual, full disclaimer is I've bought this used. It seems quite hard to get hold of new. May or may not have been discontinued, but I've seen this available as new in a few shops online. And yeah, so obviously I was not paid to do this video, and all thoughts and opinions are my own. And yeah, let's get into something a bit more premium. So before we get to this really fancy packaging, there was this in the back, so it's just a bit of paperwork. Again, I did buy this used. You can see it's just paperwork in there. Not much on the back of the box. There's some spec that's in Japanese. Oxygen free cable, which is 1.2 meters. There's 2 cables and there's a load of tips. And I think it's from 2018. So, and that's it. So left to right really. So you can see this is quite heavy. It's quite solid. So normal kind of silicone-ish tips. Those are like foam tips. There's the 2 model. I'll just get one of these out. Now the M9, which looks very, very similar to this, has a carbon fibre kind of effect there. That's the kind of the easiest way of just checking. And then I think the plastic's a bit more matte. This is a bit more shiny. Obviously lip on the nozzle. The key thing is how good the foam is, because it's all about the foam and the tuning. That's the right unit, and it's MMCX, which is a shame, but that's what they use. So first cable, let's take this out. I'll leave it wound in there because it's neat. So it comes with a 3.5 cable. Obviously they're MMCX, that's flexible. Same again, but this is 4.4. Now obviously I know why they've done that, because these are a little bit harder to drive. And the little carry, kind of a carry pouch. Again, I bought this used, but whoever had this really looked after it. So you can obviously fit them in there. And a little kind of carry pouch. So that's it. And also the previous owner gave me a ZR1 cable. So it was a bonus. This doesn't come with this, but I was included this cable as well, which fits perfectly fine. And yeah, so I'll probably end it there. I've used these a bit, but they're not measured yet, so I'm going to spend more time with these, measure them, and more thoughts and opinions, bunch of different music styles as per usual. And yeah, I'll see you guys and girls in the future. Yes, so welcome to my review section of the Sony IER-M7s. So like I said before, these are 4 BA unit, so no dynamic driver at all, which Sony are known for. And it's a MMCX kind of connector, a bit deep, but it seems fine. So let's get into build quality. So build on this seems fine. It's all black plastic. It seems Sony stuff is normally built quite good. So so compared to the M9, which is the one above this, which has 1 more BA, because this has 4, that has 5. The differences are that the M9 has a carbon fibre like shell, and it's like matte texture. It's kind of textured. This is just like gloss. And yeah, so fit. Now the fit I found was okay. I've tried stuff that's better, and I've tried stuff that's worse. I wish the fit would have been a bit better, and the comfort could have been better. It wasn't not really bad, but I wish it was a bit better. So that's it really. So another thing I thought was good was the isolation, and it isolates like a beast. But because of that, because it's an all BA unit, you may sometimes get like the vacuum effect. Obviously if you open your jaw and then put them in, things like that help. It may or may not affect you. It happened for me sometimes, not all the time. It just depends. So obviously that's very important, because stuff like that is very off-putting, so you have to bear that in mind. So the timbre of these, because this is an all BA set, which is very important. Obviously DDs are the best BA timbre kind of tonality. Obviously Sony's single DDs are good for that. And they've done a very nice job of this. It doesn't sound like a balanced armatures, like there's 4 of them. I think it uses their kind of side firing ones. That's why it looks quite thick in its kind of shape. Yeah, the timbre of these is actually pretty good. I didn't expect that. So yeah, and overall sound, these are kind of, they say it's reference sounding, but I think they're kind of warmer, kind of laid back sound. I will show you a graph in a bit of what I mean kind of by that. But yeah, obviously you've already seen the accessories, which are really crazy overkill, and I don't know the original price for these, but I paid I think £425, so they're not cheap. And obviously competition is really strong, obviously in late 2022. And yeah, so Soundstage and imaging I thought was very good. So they're doing some kind of magic in there, but it works very well. Stage and imaging is very good. I was quite happy with it. And yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh yeah, kind of a harder one. Power and sensitivity. These are harder to drive than you expect. Now that's probably why they include a balanced cable in the with the packaging, because you just take a bit more power than you'd expect. They can be noticeably harder to drive than you expect. Think towards like planar IEMs, that kind of level. So obviously I think they've done that. They've probably had to dampen something quite a bit for it to be like that. But yeah, I think that's going to be pretty much it. So sound, because that's what you're here for. I'm going to overlay the graph now so you can have a look. So as you can see, these are tuned a bit different to what I normally try, or the norm from China. Obviously, because Sony's Japanese, they've done a kind of a different approach to it. And yeah, to start from the left, so bass, they are definitely warmer, is probably the best way to describe it. So they have enough bass. They hit enough. It sounds like soft DD bass, doesn't sound like a BA, but the actual texture for the low end is actually quite good, as I kind of expected. Yeah, not much to say really. I think you'd probably want, if these is like a Ford BA and a DD, you'd probably expect to get more bass, but they are warm, but they're not bassy models. There's enough there. As you say, they class this as a reference model. But yeah, it is what it is. It worked fine. I could just about get away with it for some electronic music that I typically use. Some folks would probably want more, to be honest, really. But yeah, so mid-range, again, is warm. It probably bleeds in probably a touch too much. So you want the mids to stop like maybe towards at least 300 really. Well, the bass shelf is like 300 hertz. Obviously this goes a bit more. So the mid-range is very smooth in its appearance. Very clean, quite clean though. They're not bleedy bass boys like a lot of KZs, which have massive bass shelves. They are nothing like that. So even they are on the warmer side, they do sound quite clean really in its mid-range kind of presentation. So yeah, I was kind of fine with it. Vocals can sound a little bit soft, especially like female vocals, because obviously these are tuned quite differently to how most of the Chi-Fi's, where they always have more of a upper mid-range, lower treble present. So vocals always seem to be more forward on Chinese gear. Obviously this is a bit more, I think, because they tune with the foam, it's tuned to be quite a bit more safe in a way. That's how I see it anyway. And yeah, so the vocals are probably a little bit more laid back than normal. And there's also no sibilance, but I'll get to the treble part more in a bit. And yeah, so treble, as you can see, they are, again, they're quite a safe set with the treble. is probably one way of describing it. I know I don't mind that. I prefer to have a little bit too less treble than too much treble, is probably the way of describing it. And yeah, it's not too bad at all. It has enough detail. Instrument separation, as its BAs, is actually quite good. It's quite a polite treble. Now, again, Chinese gear typically has more generally. It's compared to a lot of stuff I tried, it is fairly safe. You can see there's like a dip as well, you know, past like 6K and all that. I found these I could use them for like hours at a time, and I did use them for hours at a time, not obviously on like low volumes, and it was fine really. I didn't get any fatigue whatsoever. I guess that's how Sony tuned that on purpose. Now I don't know what the M9's like, but yeah, these are tuned quite, I think, quite safe really, quite conservatively is probably a way of describing it. Yeah, everything's there, it's quite safe. Those peaks further past 10, I didn't really notice that. And yeah, and there's a little peak around like is it 3? That very rarely I heard that. It just depends on your genre of music, but on the whole I found them pretty safe really, which is what I like. And yeah, some people might want more kind of presence in the treble, like cymbals, hats. It depends on if you listen to like jazz, any like instruments that sit there. Some people may want more, but I think it was quite well done really. It wasn't too bad at all. I think that's pretty much it. So conclusion for waffle too long. Do I actually recommend these? Yes, if you can find them cheap enough, because there's so much competition. It's unreal, because these are 2018, so which is a much better time for them. But in 2022, for like £400 something, £500, it's hard to go for this. I think for like a little bit less than this, you got something like the Manga T2s, which are great. They're not tuned the same, but that may be overall a better product. That's a hybrid. So that uses 1DD, that's Sony and Knowles balanced armatures. Obviously this uses their own in-house armatures, which are, to be honest, I think very good. But yet they are a good set. Just depends if it suits your library. They are a conservative tuning, they're quite warm, and I ultimately don't mind that. Negatives are obviously the fitment can be an issue, like the vacuum and the actual shell, as you can see. The tuning, I think it's fairly safe, but I was quite happy with it. A little bit harder to power, and probably ultimately now in late 2022 is probably the price, because since then you got some China that has moved so far ahead. Now you got plain R models which are much cheaper than this, and obviously you got all the really good hybrids. And yeah, so they are worth it if you can get it cheap enough. Otherwise there's a lot of competition above and below this, which is may probably beat it really, to be honest, at this kind of 2022. Less competition back in 2018, but yeah, quite a good set overall. And I'll probably end it there. If you know anything in particular, let me know in the comments. And yeah, thanks for watching, take care, and see you in the next video.